This lesson is about optimizing rail lines, specifically how to optimize the revenue of a rail line according to its tasks. For this purpose, select a train of the rail line from Sacramento to San Francisco. Since this rail line operates between two cities, it transports passengers and mail. These two goods are among the express goods because they require fast transportation. Consequently, the faster the transport, the higher the transport revenue. For example, the faster you transport a passenger, the higher the ticket revenue. Now open the balance sheet of the rail line. Here you can see, among other information, what revenues the selected train had on its last full tour. As you can see, revenue for freight transportation also plays a role. While Sacramento produces meat, San Francisco has cloth. Fixed prices are paid for freight transportation, so speed is not a factor here. Now consider the costs. Maintenance and fuel are mainly affected by the length of a tour, but personnel generates daily costs, so speed plays a factor here. Also, a rail line can transport more if it is faster. However, freight is much heavier than express goods, and a locomotive cannot be fast and powerful at the same time. Therefore, there are different locomotives. For example, on this rail line, a mixed-use locomotive is used. This is always good if the load consists of at most half freight goods. If there is a higher percentage of freight, a freight locomotive would be better, because the train will otherwise be very slow even on slight inclines. We now want to test a freight locomotive and one for express goods between the two cities. Open the Research and Development section. Here you will see many technologies that you can unlock over the years. They improve countless aspects of your business. These include higher ticket prices, happier passengers, and even more modern locomotives. Your current locomotive is the Dunham. Select it and let's take a look at its data. Compare the speed, tractive power, and suitability of the Dunham with the two locomotives to the right of the Dunham, the Derwent and the Firefly. You can see that the fast Firefly has a much lower tractive power than the powerful Derwent. This means that the Firefly is much worse at pulling heavy loads, but much faster at pulling light loads. Now, unlock these two locomotives so you can use them in your rail line. Very good. Now close this dialog. Now optimize the rail line for express goods. Exchange the locomotive for the Firefly and select Express as the load type. Then pay the cost for the new locomotives and close this dialog. Now, watch your rail line and use the fast forward function if you like. It will only pick up express goods and it will reach a much higher speed than before. After a while, it will even show the express symbol. This means your rail line is the fastest of its time and gets even higher ticket revenue. You don't have to offer an express line, of course. Everything works with slower and mixed transports as well. But suppose you have a good reason for this optimization. Then, of course, freight transport is missing. If you can't transport freight on the same tracks, that would slow down the express train. Therefore, you should expand the tracks from Sacramento to San Francisco. To do this, extend the 2 parallel tracks from Sacramento to San Francisco by 2 more tracks. Then build a station gridiron at each station, connecting each of the 4 tracks. You can just build the new station gridiron on top of the previous one, but be aware that the new gridiron is much longer. Don't forget the directions for the new tracks. Excellent. Now create a new rail line from Sacramento to San Francisco. To make it use the new tracks, you need to set waypoints. To do this, select the following 4 objects in sequence: Sacramento, the outbound track, San Francisco, the return track. Very good. Now use the Derwent as the locomotive. Select freight to be loaded because this rail line should only carry freight. That's exactly how it's done. Normally trains always take the shortest way, but by using waypoints you can specify certain paths. You should also do this for your express line so that the two lines don't get in each other's way. Otherwise, we're through with this lesson, so when you're ready, you can finish it. Greetings! This lesson is about how you can recognize the needs of a city and use them to your advantage. I'll also show you how to invest in the production of goods to ensure additional transport and growing cities, which in turn leads to even more transport. Open the city dialog of Sacramento and then the supply and demand list. This list shows you, among other things, how high the stock of all goods is and how high the current demand by citizens and factories is. As an example, look at grain. The city needs grain, yet the supply is at 0. This is because the nearest grain farm is too far away and is virtually unsupplied by traditional transportation. The same is true for lumber. So with the help of new rail lines, we could improve the goods coverage of the city. For corn, however, there is some supply. Here, a corn farm is nearby and goods are transported via road. A new rail line would generate revenue, but would not improve the city's fulfillment of demand until the city has grown too large for traditional transportation. Now, close the list again and look for suitable businesses to improve the city's fulfillment of demand so that the city can grow. To the north of Sacramento, there is lumber, and in the northeast, there is grain available. Now build a station at both farms and connect them to Sacramento, preferably with double tracks and a gridiron. Excellent. Select Sacramento again and watch how the city's fulfillment of demand improves. Since grain and lumber are in fairly high demand by the city, these two commodities also have a higher impact on demand coverage. Observe how the new supplies increase the goods coverage. If it's above 60%, a city grows. If it falls below 40%, it shrinks. Let's wait until the city reaches 40,000 citizens. You can look around a bit in the meantime. Excellent. Sacramento has reached a new level. When a city grows, this has many effects. The need for goods increases, more types of goods are demanded, more industries can be constructed, and special buildings become available. Another industry can now be constructed in Sacramento. Beer would be good because grain is needed as raw material for it. Besides, San Francisco also needs beer, and there already exists a rail line. So open the construction menu and select the breweries. Now place the new industry in Sacramento inside the inner city area. Make sure that the new building complex doesn't get in the way of your future construction projects. For example, you can't lay tracks through factory complexes. Very good. Now leave the construction menu again and select the new industry. Here you will see some info about your new industry. The rotating gear shows that the production is running. But if raw materials are missing or the export warehouse is overflowing, production stops. This decreases the utilization and consequently your profit. If the work stands still for a long time, you will also lose money. This can be the same city or any other city that can be reached by rail. So you can assume that your rail line to San Francisco will be used to transport beer. If one day the production of your industry is no longer adequate, you can enlarge it by increasing the level. This will also make your industry yield more profit, but you'll probably earn the most from transport of goods. Now select a rural business, because I'd like to show you that you can also buy this business. You can acquire any rural or city business as long as it is not owned by one of your competitors. This starts an auction in which all competitors can participate, and the highest bidder gets the business. Start an auction now. Very good. Now try to acquire this rural business. Excellent. One last thing. Open the flow of goods display. The origin of travelers, mail, and goods is displayed here, as well as where they are transported to. This is very useful if you're looking for a specific farm, for example, or want to know which transport routes you could take over. Down here, you will see explanations about the flow of goods. Now select different goods and move your focus to rural businesses and cities to see different information and the flow of goods. When you're ready, you can then exit this tutorial at any time. Hi! In this lesson, I want to explain how passengers, mail, and freight can change trains. This is useful because it means you need fewer rail lines and you can easily distribute goods from central stations to all directions. Now select Sacramento, and there, passengers and mail. Here you can see the destinations passengers and mail have from Sacramento. Right now, that's just San Francisco, because it only mentions destinations that can be reached entirely by rail. However, this does not mean that these goods choose only direct connections. Indeed, passengers and mail may change trains in cities and at rural stations with hotels if there is no shorter way and if the way by rail is at most twice as long as the direct way. Now, let's try this out. Now, build a station in Reading and connect the city to your station at the clearing. Feel free to use new tracks there. Then, create a new rail line that runs from the clearing to Reading. As soon as lumber arrives in Reading, we will continue. Outstanding! Now, so that the passengers and mail can change trains at the clearing, you need a hotel at the station. But you haven't researched it yet. Therefore, open the research diagram and unlock the hotel. Very good. Now select the station at the clearing and expand it with the hotel. Exactly. Now passengers and mail can change at the station. Open the overview Passengers and Mail in Sacramento again, and you'll notice that passengers and mail can now get to Reading via the station with the hotel. Maybe it will take a while for the new route to be registered, then we'll just wait. Hotels, by the way, are only required at rural stations because in cities, passengers and mail can always change trains. Freight can also be transferred from one rail line to another at stations, but there must always be a warehouse for this because freight takes up a lot of space. Now let's try it out. For this, unlock the warehouse within the research diagram and expand the station at the clearing with the warehouse. Unlike the hotel, the warehouse needs to be adjusted to the goods that are to be transferred here. Therefore, select the constructed warehouse and instruct it to take in the goods, meat, beer, and cloth. You don't have to specify a quantity. Very good. The goods selected by you can now change the rail line at the warehouse. Note, the goods in the warehouse do not belong to you because the warehouse only serves as a stopover for changing trains. All goods already have a fixed destination. As with travelers and mail, freight is only shipped by a business if the destination can be reached by rail. For example, the meat industry in Sacramento can now ship meat to Reading by rail, knowing that the meat will reach its destination via the warehouse. Now, feel free to look at how the goods transfer at the clearing. You may also need to increase the number of trains to transport all the new goods. Then, finish this chapter whenever at your own pace. Greetings! Now we'll move on to banks and personnel, loans, stock trading, buying up competitors, personnel management, and sabotage. We'll start right away once you've opened the company dialog. Here you can see some data about your company on the left, and on the right side, the current company value and how it's calculated. The results of the last 4 quarters are displayed here. The last quarter is on the left. Here you can see which companies are currently competing in the transportation business and how much these companies are worth. Each company, including yours, is a public stock company that received its initial funds from shareholders. Therefore, you can buy your competitor's shares as well. Once you have acquired all the shares of a competitor, you can merge with them and the competitor disappears. But be careful. If a competitor gains value faster than you, they will also try to buy up the shares of your company and kick you out of the race. Buy some competitors' shares now. There is quite a bit more information about mergers, but you can take a look at that at your leisure by opening the Tips and Tricks section. Here you will find more information about each topic. If you open the tips from a dialogue, you jump directly to the right place. Here you can buy shares of different markets and issue company bonds to take out a loan. The higher your company value, the higher the bond's value. Now buy some stock and issue a bond. In the last section, you can see all kinds of statistics and company developments. Look around a bit, then close the dialogue to continue. Now let's take a look at the personnel. Open the corresponding dialogue. In this dialogue, you can change basic settings for the 4 different personnel areas of your company. The first area is for the engineer. Your trains are on the move 24 hours a day. With a daily work time of 8 hours, each train needs 3 engineers. If you increase the work time, for example, you will need fewer engineers, but the quality of the work will decrease. How many of the available positions can actually be filled depends on how much you invest in your employees. How well each individual works and how many positions are filled ultimately determines the efficiency of an area. Efficient engineers, for example, reduce the maintenance requirements of your locomotives. Now take a look at the 3 other personnel areas. They all work similarly, but each has different effects. One special feature is your security personnel. Not only do they affect mail and freight revenues, but they can also prevent sabotage when effectively used. As always, you can find more information about personnel in the Tips and Tricks dialogue. But now, let's turn to the last area, the saboteurs. You can invest money into searching for saboteurs to damage your competitor's business. The more money you invest, the faster you'll find more experienced saboteurs. Start the search for a saboteur now. Go ahead and invest the highest amount. Normally, you would have to wait for a while now, but I'll take the liberty to speed up the search. As soon as you have found a saboteur, you can use them. Now close the dialogue and select something that belongs to your competitor north of Reading. For example, a station. Then, order the sabotage. That's how it's done. Whether you want to sabotage your competitors or not, of course, is your decision. It's not important, but you should expect that your competitors will not be squeamish with you. So make sure you have enough security personnel. That also brings this lesson to an end. One more thing. As long as your business is small, you don't necessarily need to worry about your staff. At some point, however, you'll have 50 or more employees in one area, and you'll incur significant costs. By then, you should optimize your staff.